Hello, pet lover. I'm Lorien Clemens, and today on Pet Lover Geek, powered by Pet Hub, we are discovering why your pup's breath doesn't smell like flowers and how you can help maintain positive dental hygiene for your dog. Bad breath, swollen or bloody gums, loss of appetite, all these are signs of canine gum disease. And sadly, gum disease is one of the most common health problems for dogs. By the age of 3, over 80%, yeah, you heard me right, 80% of dogs show early signs of gum disease. And while it may be common, it's certainly not normal or healthy for a dog to suffer from gum disease. Severe gum problems can lead to cancers, heart problems, kidney problems, diabetes. Dental health is simply vital to your dog's overall quality of life. So today, really excited, we're going to be talking with Dr. Emily Stein, the CEO and inventor of one of the coolest products on the market, and it battles gum disease and will change the dental hygiene game for your dog. It's called TEEF, and it's by Primal Health. It uses patented science that selectively favors health-promoting bacteria to flourish in your pet's mouth while disrupting those dangerous bacteria that cause the gum disease. Now, stay tuned. We're going to dive into all things dental in just a moment with Dr. Stein. All right, today we are talking to Dr. Emily Stein, CEO and inventor of TEEF by Primal Health. Dr. Stein has years of experience improving the quality of life and longevity of both humans and animals by producing innovative, consumable, and safe dental hygiene products. With a PhD in microbiology from the University of California at Berkeley, she has patented prebiotic technology that centers on re-engineering disease-causing bacterial biofilms into those that are health promoting. Welcome to the show, Dr. Stein. It's really great to have you here. Well, okay, for starters, bacteria. You know, a lot of us are germaphobes and we're like, ew, bacteria, but there's good bacteria and there's bad bacteria. And I'd love it if you could talk about those two and how they directly can impact health.
Absolutely. So let's start with the good ones first, and then we'll lead to the bad. But the good ones actually help direct how we eat, help take care of our immune system, help protect our barrier function in our mouth and in our gut, teach our immune system what foreign is, and really protect against the bad and harmful bacteria. And so you really want to load your body and your pet's bodies up with as many good as possible. And then, over time or with antibiotic exposure and antiseptic exposure, which are really harsh chemicals, my dog is going to start going nuts. The bad start to take over, and they have a lot of different mechanisms to arm themselves and actually start to become predominant in us as we age. And they'll start to crowd out the beneficial ones over time. Microbiologists, we call this dysbiosis. So it's an imbalance. So you wind up growing too many harmful and you don't have enough protective bacteria to take care of you anymore. And that dysbiosis very strongly drives many chronic inflammatory diseases.
Right. So, and let me understand, I'm going to make sure. So when we're talking about gum disease, we are talking about a purely bacterially based disease.
Yep.
Is that right? Okay. So, and then, we talked about all the different things that it can cause. I mean, those long-term implications of poor dental hygiene, we're not talking about missing 1 or 2 teeth brushings, like those long-term things. What are we talking about?
Yeah. So, I mean, what's going on below the gum line, all this stuff is going on below the gum line. There's an entire microbial community in the gum tissue deep down there that you can't reach by toothbrush, that your vet can't dental clean away. And that's what can lead to inflammation and the recruitment of immune cells there below the gum line that then start attacking your own tissue. So we're now thinking, I spent 7 years as a rheumatology research fellow at Stanford after my PhD on the microbial side of things. And so many chronic inflammatory diseases actually have a microbial component. So too many bad, not enough good is a theme that is in joint disease and periodontal disease is an example of a joint disease. So what happens is the immune system and the bacteria work together, the harmful ones, work together to really start to deteriorate and break down that ligament called the periodontal ligament, which holds a tooth in place. And so loose teeth is actually a sign of a risk factor of premature death in humans and in dogs. And for every tooth that gets extracted in humans and dogs, it shortens our lifespan. So in humans, we can lose about 10 years off of our lifespan if we have gum disease. In dogs, it's up to a third of their lifespan can be lost so far. So it's a big deal. And so, and it's linked to so many other things because the bacteria can go inside once they really invade that tissue, and you have leaky gums due to the inflammation, and they'll escape into the bloodstream. And in the case of my grandmother, she had a stroke after her tooth was extracted. That's why I really started doing this about 12 years ago. And then when I rescued my rescue dog who had severe periodontal disease, her gum disease had spread to her bloodstream. And so I had, 36 hours to save her life after I rescued her. And it's a significant issue. In cats, it's linked to chronic kidney disease. There's so many things that the mouth is linked to, or the health or disease status of the mouth is linked to either wellness and longevity and an easier, happier life, or it's linked to the opposite, which is disease. Lots of vet visits and premature death.
Wow. And it sounds kind of gloomy doomy, but at the same time, it's not that you can't prevent it. This is something that is completely preventable. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the number of things that pet parents can do to help maintain that proper dental health in their dogs. Let's break it all down. And how does diet impact it? Raw diets, that's like a big thing now. But we've heard for years that, oh no, kibble helps them with teeth health and all these things. So low carb diets, all these kind of things, all these different diets that are out there. Let's just talk about that and how it starts with the food that you put in.
Yeah, absolutely. So first things first, I would say water. Drinking water actually starts to remove a lot of those waste products that bacteria secrete, which causes inflammation, causes the recruitment of those immune cells into the gums. So by just simply having your dog drink fresh water every day, wash that water bowl, just like you don't want to drink out of a glass that's been hanging out for a couple of days. It's really important to hand wash that dog bowl regularly with soap and water. That's the easiest preventative thing you can do. The second thing is food. Very many brands of dog food are laden with carbohydrates. Chickpea, squash, potato, sweet potato, all of that is chock full of carbohydrate. And carbohydrate is actually eaten preferably by the bacteria in the mouth of dogs and humans. And so they easily convert that into things called organic acids, which really cause inflammation, cause gums to become leaky. And so that's what I'm trying to focus on is stopping. So the more you can actually provide a high fiber and low carbohydrate and high protein diet for your dogs, the better. On the raw side of things, there is a lot less, there's usually in a lot of raw foods, there's not a lot of rice or corn or wheat, but there are some things that also have carbohydrate, and bone marrow actually is rich in simple carbohydrates. So a lot of folks don't realize that it's an easier digestible sugar source for these bacteria. So even a dog eating a raw diet can get dental disease. So that's a common myth that I've had to debunk over time, because these bacteria are really crafty,
Yeah.
Yeah. They smell out sugar. They're bigger sugar lovers than most children, I think.
I might give them a run for the money. I love my sugar. Now, you mentioned that it all happens below the gum line, which is like, well, then why am I bothering brushing my dog's teeth?
That's a controversial one that I'm still there. Believe it or not, on the human side, there's a study that showed that manual toothbrushing was less effective than sodium fluoride in toothpaste at plaque and tartar control.
Wow.
Yeah, but traditionally always thought, oh, we need to physically remove dental plaque and tartar. But really what you need to do is just choose who lives in that dental plaque and below the gum line to really, that's a bigger driver of health or disease than physical removal of plaque on teeth.
So are you saying don't brush your dog's teeth?
No, well, no, because I don't want all the vets in the world to come down hard on me. But what I'm saying is, look, honestly, only 2% of dogs or dog parents brush their dog's teeth. 2%. And in my case, this puppy in the background that you're probably hearing, he has chewed up every single toothbrush I have ever attempted to stick in his mouth. So I physically cannot, unless I restrain him, and then it becomes very difficult and unenjoyable, and I don't want to stress him out any more than he already is, little anxious guy that he is, So we've had to come up with easier ways that are actually improve compliance too, because we got to make it easier for pet parents to care for their pet's health. And that's our goal. I would think the last way would be things to chew for the physical disruption, but also to stimulate the gum tissue, because that's another way that you can counterbalance and the regulatory complicated systems that go on in the mucosal immune system, which is the gum tissue, the world that I come from, and help regulate the biofilm below the gum line too. So like cloth-based toys or sticks or not rawhide, but a lot of the types of things that require a lot of chewing motion is actually good below the gum line for increasing circulation and things like that.
And without naming any names, what about all these dental chews and treats that are out there? I mean, there's a ton of these treats that are on the supplement aisle at my pet store. So, I mean, effective, not effective?
Not effective. Great marketing, not effective. And definitely read those ingredients. Usually the number 1, 2, and 3 ingredients are carbs. So you're actually causing more of a problem. And then they throw these harsh chemicals that are antiseptics into the treats and chews, thinking that that's actually and they've demonstrated, although it does, have VOHC activity, which means it does reduce plaque and tartar, you can still get gum disease when you're giving your dog chlorhexidine or when you're giving your dog some of these bleach derivatives that are in very many of the dental treats on the market. And it's not like, the FDA makes us spit them out because they are so toxic, but you're actually feeding these dogs and cats these treats regularly all the time. And so you're risking cancer that way.
You and I are actually looking at each other. I know everybody else is just hearing each other, but I'm sure you're seeing like my brain, I'm just like, what? I had no idea.
When I got into this space, I'm like, I cannot believe it's allowed. It's not regulated. They're repurposing all these FDA approved molecules for dental hygiene in human, but they're only FDA approved because we're spitting them out because they have a toxicity profile to them.
I mean, specifically, you're supposed to spit out all the rinses and everything like that. Wow. Okay. Woo. Well, we're going to take a little break and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about TEEF and how this changes everything for everybody. Hang on. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back, pet lovers. Now, we are ready to explore TEEF's patented probiotic formula. It's called Protectin 42. Really excited to hear about this. So I'd love it if you can give a little bit of background about why you invented TEEF.
Yeah, so I'd already invented the human formula because of my grandma's stroke. She had a stroke due to gum disease. And I got into this 12 years ago, actually, when I was still at Stanford in rheumatology fellowship. And that's where I first figured out, holy cow, what I've been brushing my teeth with and swishing around in my mouth is extraordinarily toxic, and it's actually not doing anything constructive. And so we took this whole mouth approach to trying to recalibrate the microbiome in the mouth. And that's been shown clinically now in humans, whether you're 5 years old or 85 in an Alzheimer's care facility, that our approach is actually more effective than traditional means. And so when I rescued, her name was Tinsley, I rescued her from the Wenatchee Valley Humane Society 6 years ago now. They warned me she was actually not available yet, but because of my medical background and I was willing to help take care of her and get her back to a more healthier state, I was able to adopt her. And they warned me that she'd had some pretty bad breath. And it's really I remember when I was signing the paperwork, like her halitosis, which is bad breath, the medical term for bad breath, was so bad. She smelled like death. And by the time I drove us down with all the windows open from Wenatchee, Washington to the Bay Area, because I couldn't keep those windows up, and it was 90-some degrees outside in the summer, and it was miserable with her breath, that smell. But by the time we got to the Bay Area, I literally had to make an emergency trip to the emergency department at the vet hospital to save her life, because the infection below her gum line had spread to a bloodstream infection, and she wasn't doing well at all. So 21 teeth were extracted, several months of antibiotics to clean up all of the sites of her body. But she lived. And then I started immediately working on dog.
Wow. I mean, that's quite a story. And for those that are listening, I live in Wenatchee, Washington, and the Wenatchee Valley Humane Society is near and dear to my heart. So, all right. So let's talk about the product itself, because we've been talking a lot of geeky science, which of course we love here on Pet Lover Geek, but let's talk about how actually simple it is and how easy it is to give it to your dog.
Yeah. So we call it, so it's TEEF, and we're going to be modifying it to TEEF for life, because that's really our mission, is to keep every tooth in a dog's mouth and a cat's mouth for the rest of their life. And we called this Protect in 42 because this is specifically optimized to protect all 42 teeth and that dog's mouth. And so what it is a dental prebiotic. So probiotics are actually bacteria, living bacteria you're feeding for gut health, for instance. And what we figured out was prebiotics were actually a better approach. So we're using safe nutrients, there's only 4 of them, to work specifically with the oral microbiome of the dog, to block carbohydrate eating and to promote them to instead start to eat the protein in a dog's diet. And just by doing that simple thing, we've shown clinically we can recalibrate a dog's mouth in as little as 5 days. And it's 4 simple ingredients in a powder form. You take a little scoop, it's a cute little scoop, and you just take that scoop of powder and put it in their drinking water, because that's the best way. It goes right into solution, and then it coats that dog's mouth for the rest of the day. Every time they get a drink, this molecular prebiotic is actually working with the bacteria to really keep the bad ones at bay and really allow the beneficial protective ones to start overtaking and occupy the sites below the gum line and in the mouth. And it's got a benefit because it turns out that when bacteria eat carbohydrate, it makes the stinky bad breath molecules that you often smell in your dog. So Protectin actually shuts that down. So breath is better as well, which is always a bonus.
Wow. And I this is awesome. I've got to ask though, so we have a mixed household, dogs and cats, and they share a lot of the same water sources because we use fountains and things like that. So does this work with fountains? And is there a danger to my cats?
No danger to cats. We've already, all the ingredients cats can take. It's actually, we have a lot of customers with mixed households, and they report that it's actually working on their cats because the breath isn't half as bad, but I'm actually working on a cat version right now that's totally tailored and optimized to the cat microbiome. And so we should have that out early 2021, also as a water additive. But as far as the water filter, many filters actually get coated with harmful. Remember, we were talking about one of the best and easiest ways to just help your dog is to clean the water bowl. A lot of these have these filters that make it very difficult to clean on a very regular basis. And so we actually advise not to use the filtered water bowls just for that reason alone. But secondarily, that sometimes the filter, if it's charcoal based, will pull out the protectant out of the water. So it therefore won't work.
Right. So if you've got a cat that won't drink still water, then it's probably
yeah. Just take the filter out, but keep it cycling.
Keep it going. Oh, so you can still use it in the cycle. You just can't have the filter in there. Oh, that's good. That's good to know. Okay, good, awesome. Okay, now one more thing before we wrap it up here. I would love it if you could you talk about how it balances the bacteria, and I'd love it if you could kind of get into the geeky part about what does that really mean? Because the bad bacteria is still there, or is the bad bacteria going away, or how does this all working to balance those two?
Yeah. So imagine in your mouth and in your dog's mouth or cat's mouth, there's this continual struggle to survive and to grow and flourish. So there's this constant battle going on in a very limited, tight space, and they're fighting for nutrients and they're fighting for real estate. And usually over time, the harmful ones wind up winning. And so we're just trying to beat them back by starving them of carbohydrate, and then encouraging and nurturing the beneficial ones that are already there, but might be underrepresented through being able to have them eat protein. And oftentimes, just by stressing out, it's called in microbiology, we call it nutrient stress. So by stressing out these harmful bacteria and fungi like Candida and Aspergillus, which flourishes in dogs' mouths, they're not growing. So they're there, but they're not growing. And then over time, because we're feeding the good, they're then naturally able to outcompete the Candidas of the world, the multi-drug resistant staph that are in dogs' mouths, all the scary things, the Porphyromonas gingivalis, which is the main driver of gum disease. He gets crowded out by the good guys like lactobacillus and all these other probiotic-like organisms that naturally inhabit a dog's and a human's mouth. And so that's all we're doing. It's a natural process. We're making use of just the natural selection that goes on any day through nutrient pressures that we're applying to the quote unquote microbiome of the mouth. And I know that's complicated in a lot of science jargon, but I kind of whip it out.
No, but it's almost like its own little society inside your mouth. Like when you support the underrepresented, they tend to do better and thrive. So that's great.
It's nice. Gotta be minority focused, and you got to help them survive, because the mouth is only as healthy as the weakest link.
Before we wrap up, I would love it if you could tell people where they could learn more about TEEF and get tips for keeping their dog's mouth healthy.
Sure. So you can go to TEEFhealth.com, and that's TEEF as in Frank, health.com. And our website is full of useful information. We try to add blogs all the time, but if you enter in your email address, we'll send you newsletters on a regular basis with some information and general helpful tips. Otherwise, talk to your veterinarian near you. They're great resources for dental hygiene, because dental hygiene is one of the biggest drivers for the health and wellness of animals. That they're key experts in this equation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here today. Thoroughly enjoyed geeking out with you today. It was a lot of fun. Pet Lover, that wraps up this episode of Pet Lover Geek. And Dr. Stein has amazing resources on the TEEF website. So be sure to head over there if you're looking for more information on how to maintain positive dental hygiene and make a routine for your pup that will keep their mouths happy and healthy. I can't wait to see you next time on Pet Lover Geek, powered by Pet Hub.